We have all kinds of documents, leaks, reports that came out in lawsuits where we hear them talking about all the harm they're causing and all the things they're doing to cause addiction. These platforms are designed to grab our kids' attention and never let go, because if they let go, it's going to go to their competitor. Um, there are correlational studies, there are experimental studies, there are so many different studies that all point to a degree of harm. So I think now that the case is pretty much closed, the argument that, oh, well, we just don't know, we need to gather more information. That was the tobacco industry playbook decades ago. And Meta, social media, especially Meta, they're literally copying the tobacco playbook. I mean, a lot of people have written about this. So I think this is, I was about to say evil, but we've talked about that. Yes, you know what? It's an evil industry in the same way that you were talking about. I don't look, the people who work there, I'm not saying are evil, except for maybe a couple of the leaders who know what they're doing. But the companies, especially TikTok, Meta, and Snapchat, those three companies are harming children at an industrial scale. We're not just talking like a few hundred kids. We're talking literally tens of millions are harmed and thousands are dead. So I do think that this is having a very pernicious effect on society, on children.
So, and I want to get into, real world and virtual world and what it's doing to our kids. But let me jump forward here for a second. Have you thought about what does this mean for this generation in 30 years?
Oh, yes, I think a lot about that. So here's the way to think about it. Human development is really complicated, and kids need a lot of experience in the world. They need to make lots of mistakes and learn from them. And then especially during puberty is a time when the brain is changing very, very fast. It's rewiring from the child to the adult form. And so if in puberty, kids are not out there having adventures and flirting and getting embarrassed and getting in arguments if they're not out there having real world experience, it's going to prevent the neurons from wiring up in a healthy adult way. So we really have to look at puberty, say roughly 10 or 11 through 16 is the most sensitive period of all. And if kids are growing up online, originally we thought, well, maybe it'll be great for them, checking in with 100 friends a day instead of just 2 or 3, maybe that'll be good. But it isn't. Kids don't need 100 friends a day. They need 2 or 3 good ones. And as soon as they got online, they got lonelier. So in terms of what they're going to be like in 30 years, here's what we can say with some confidence, just because these are the way the trends are. They're going to be more anxious and more fragile. And that's what I teach in a business school. I talk with people in the corporate world a lot, and boy, have they seen the change. When they try to give feedback to their Gen Z employees in their 20s, they get very upset, and sometimes they don't come back to work again. So we already know that Gen Z is more anxious, more fragile, more easily offended. Because we never let them grow thick skin. We never let them have those toughening experiences. So that's one. And that's the one that I knew about when I started writing. But the biggest one, I now think, I didn't know this until after the book came out, the biggest one, I think, is the destruction of the human capacity to pay attention. Young people are getting, they find it very difficult to pay attention to anything for more than 10 or 15 minutes. They find it difficult to watch movies. When you and I were little, we loved going to the movies, and you watch a movie. But to pay attention for 100 minutes without multitasking is very hard for them. They find it very difficult to read a book. And they're reading much, much less. Can you imagine Western civilization if we lose books, if it's all just TikTok? So there are so many other things I could go through. Oh, demographics. The frequency of sex and marriage was already falling with the millennials. It's falling much faster with Gen Z. Boys raised on porn who have very poor social skills and play a lot of video games and don't have really much practice flirting. It's going to be very hard for them to ever seduce a woman, appeal to a woman, keep a woman, get married, and stay married. And that's just on the boys' side. The girls especially are more anxious and fragile, which is also a bad sign for marriage. So this is something I think conservatives have been talking about since the 60s, the absolute fundamental importance of stable marriages to raise children. I mean, this is, I think, that old argument that, the left is on the correct side. No. On the importance of family, the right has been on the right side of history all along. And Gen Z is going to have a lot more trouble with that. I could keep going, but I'll stop there.
Thank you. I appreciate this. Mercy.
Yeah.
Let me go back then, as I have kids in that age group,
How old are your kids?
20s, early 20s.
Okay.
So
Right.
19 to 21. And they're going through all of those things. And how is there a way to relate to them, to get them to, because yeah, just as a parent, I will say things, in my head. I learn not to say them out loud. What the hell is wrong with you? It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Buck up, get over it. You got to move on. That's life. All the things that had been said to kids for generations doesn't work. What can a parent do, if anything, to repair this?
Yeah. Once your kids are out of the house, it's very difficult. All you can do is talk to them, appeal to them, try to get them to be motivated to change. So, if kids are addicted to marijuana and video games and they like it, it's very hard as a parent to convince them to change. But here's the good thing. Social media, all our kids are on it. And a lot of the average is 5 hours a day. That's the average for American teens. That includes YouTube. A lot of that is short videos. But 5 hours a day they're spending on this. So can we convince them to quit? Well, here's the good thing. They know it's bad for them. They don't even like it, but they're both addicted and they're socially addicted because everyone else is on it. I talk with my students at NYU. Why don't you get off TikTok? It does nothing for you. And they say, yeah, I agree. But you know what? Everyone else is on it. So I need to know. I need to keep up. So it's a collective action trap, which really grabs teenagers. But at the time the kids are your age, they're better at thinking for themselves. So I would talk with, but you know what? I would suggest you give them a copy of The Anxious Generation. Have them read it because Gen Z is not in denial. I have not met a single person in Gen Z who says that I'm wrong, who says that, oh no, social media is great. It's been good for us. No, they all know it's terrible. So I'd start there. And if they agree, then there's a lot you can do to help them regain control of their attention. That's the first step. This is what I do with my students at NYU. I teach a course called Flourishing here in the business school. And the first thing is we get control. Okay, how many notifications are you getting a day? Shut off almost all of them. You don't need most of my students, they get a notification every time they get an email. It's so dumb. The whole point of email was you answer it when you're ready. You don't have it interrupt you. So they've just given away all their attention. And what I've learned over the years is if we don't get them control of their attention back, there's nothing else we can do. There's no point trying anything else. So start there. And then we work on Stoicism. Stoicism is really the great philosophical tradition that teaches how to be tougher and more resilient in the face of setbacks.